Today I'm going to talk about an issue with it related to media analysis and criticism of Disney movies, and why it requires a more thorough criticism that doesn't end up creating more biases, as I've mentioned it can before, and it also criticizes the company thoroughly, all aspects of the company that need criticism. Now, Frozen, as you may have noticed, has wolves as bad guys, and that's problematic. However, Disney has also sometimes portrayed wolves as evil, but it's not Disney's fault in any of the cases. In all the cases, pretty much all the cases of bad wolf depictions of Disney, Disney didn't start those depictions. It was traditional, non-corporate peasant fairy tales that started those descriptions. And just because the peasants and other poor people of Europe, which, as you will see in this video, includes indigenous people, just because all those people use their oppression and their marginalization as an excuse to kill wolves does not make it okay. When you use your marginalization as an excuse to marginalize others, then you become an oppressor. So, the negative depiction of wolves in Frozen actually comes from the Sami indigenous people. The Sami Yoik is at the beginning of the movie Frozen, and Kristoff is a Sami with his reindeer Sven. So I'm not exactly sure of the entire picture of the Sami and if all Sami want every single wolf dead in Scandinavia, but I've heard that quite a few Sami, if not most, want to kill off every last wolf in Scandinavia just so their reindeer can be protected a lot of the time. Never mind that wolves only attack reindeer and other domestic animals 1% of the time. They often frame it as unless the Scandinavian government and the other Scandinavian people can stop oppressing us and discriminating against us, the wolves have to all die in Scandinavia. Now, for one thing, just because the Sami may be the most ancient culture in Scandinavia, the wolf is even more ancient than they are, and furthermore, the wolf is a powerful Viking symbol of unlimited freedom and unrestrained wildness. To kill every last wolf in Scandinavia would be to kill the wild spirit in Scandinavia. There's no other way around that. So also, I've also heard that there are some Siberian reindeer herders in Russia, like in central and eastern Russia and parts of western Russia too. There are some Sami in Russia, but there are also some other Siberian reindeer herders who don't want to kill off every last wolf in Russia, but who basically see that the wolf takes without giving and never gives back in what they consider a taiga ethic of mutual support. Now, there's an issue with that. Prey could not exist without predators, and ungulate prey animals, which include reindeer, could not have existed if it weren't for wolves. The wolf and the reindeer in Europe and Asia coexisted together. So basically, if those reindeer herders didn't have wolves, they wouldn't even have domestic reindeer, because the domesticated reindeer they have come from wild reindeer who were shaped in synchronicity with wolves. So if they say that the wolf has never given them anything but just takes from them without giving, they are being completely ungrateful, and that's not okay. And again, if they use their marginalization as an excuse to think this way about wolves, it doesn't make it okay. It makes them oppressors. So, and I will say something. If you're going to criticize Disney for racism and sexism, also criticize Disney for anti-Therian discrimination. For one thing, I am offended by the Night on Bald Mountain sequence in Fantasia because it shows half-human, half-animal creatures with horns, tails, and hooves as being satanic, and it also, not only that, but it shows these like malevolent caricatures of a wolf, a pig, and a goat being represented as the devil's pets, and that symbolism actually comes directly from the Burning Times. The way they showed in the Night on Bald Mountain, that is directly inspired by images in medieval bestiaries and in the Malleus Maleficiarum, the Burning Times anti-pagan equivalent of Hitler's Mein Kampf, whereas the bestiaries tend to be the equivalent of those Nazi kids' books, showing illustrations of different people and animals as being undesirable. Now, a lot of people have criticized Fantasia for its racist depiction of Sunflower the Centaur, but if you're going to criticize Fantasia for that, also criticized the movie for its anti-pagan and anti-Therian prejudices. So, I saw Coco in the theater, and before that I saw that movie, Olaf's Frozen Adventure. So, I was really happy that they showed a Jewish family in that. And still, I didn't like how they showed wolves as bad guys, but the only reason that movie and the original Frozen show the wolf as evil is because a marginalized indigenous group depicts wolves as evil, and they will unless they stop being oppressed right away, which of course that never happens. There's no way you can stop being oppressed right away. So they in the words of Frozen, they need to let it go, and they need to let their anger over the wolf and their grudge against that one time throughout all of history, not all of history, throughout the Stone Age, throughout the Stone Age in the Northern Hemisphere, where there was this almost universal hunting culture where man and wolves lived side by side as hunting partners. That's how dogs were domesticated. I really feel that the Russian reindeer herders and the Sami, their entire cultures tend to be built upon a grudge against that time in prehistory. And because when they see a bear attacking their livestock, they don't hate the bear. Although I've heard sometimes now the Sami are killing bears. But yeah. Still, even though that when a wolf attacks their reindeer, then it reminds them of that time in history that they'd prefer to deny. But really, they need to, in the words of Frozen, let it go. And yeah, there was that time in history. By domesticating reindeer, they stopped being part of it. It's not the wolf's fault that sometimes the wolf has to attack a domestic reindeer. It only happens 1% of the time. So let it go. Move on with time and culture.